Hey, everybody.
Yeah, so again, we're doing tie-dye. It's super hot trend right now. It's like bigger than ever. I don't know if just because people are at home, they're, kind of revamping what they have even. So if you can't get out, you can just use old t-shirts, or you have a stain or paint splatter on something already.
Yeah, great idea.
A lot of home decor we're seeing, which is really fun too. So again, we'll be here to answer any questions that you have. All these products are available on michaels.com or in the store. So if you can do curbside, or a lot of stores still have same day delivery, so you can get this product to create all these projects. Also, if you were just watching and getting inspired and you want to go back and watch this video later, you can go to michaels.com on their community classroom page, and you can actually find this video, so you'll be able to watch it again on your own time. Like I said, if you want to go back and actually craft along, you're just watching, or you need to go back because you have a question about something. And also all our other videos are available. All of the Michaels community classroom videos are available to watch after the fact. So that's really great way to be able to get all this on demand at your fingertips, so you can get creative. So thank you guys. Jesse, if you want to get started.
Yeah, I'd love to. So like Kira said, in case you guys haven't been to one of our classes here, my name is Jessie, and we're going to be doing some tie-dye today with our Fabric Creations fabric ink. So if you're unfamiliar with the fabric ink, this is our fabric paint that we have here at Plaid, and it's amazing on fabric. It is super duper soft. It's machine washable. It paints really beautifully on fabric. It blends on fabric. So of course you can use it with a brush to paint on fabric, just like typical fabric paint. But we have come up with a fun new idea, which is tie-dyeing on fabric using our fabric ink. So I'll show you how to do it, but we mix it with water, we dilute it a little bit, and we use it very similar to tie-dye. So you can get all the same looks of tie-dye, but it's way less messy. It's less supplies. You don't have to worry about doing it outside and get a tarp and a bucket and all that stuff. It's all water-based, so you can just wash your hands after. You don't get your fingernails all dyed. But we are really excited about this technique using our Fabric Creations fabric ink. So today, what we're going to be making specifically, a couple weeks ago, we did a tie-dye class on the Michaels community classrooms, and we had a lot of people ask for us to do this sort of pastel swirl bandana. So I'm going to show you today the exact colors and technique I did for this bandana. And then also, as promised, we have this beautiful tie-dye lampshade. Here, let me pull it forward for you guys. So we made this lampshade using this technique. And so I'm going to show you guys just how I did this, how I made this pattern with the black, and then also how I Mod Podged it onto this lampshade to give you guys some inspiration for your own home decor. So let's get to supplies. So what I've got here today is I have just some white cotton fabric. So something cool about the Fabric Creations technique is that it doesn't need to be natural cotton. It's better if it's a nice soft, cotton always works best in my opinion. It's better if it's nice and soft, but it can be synthetic because unlike a dye, the fabric ink sits on top of the fibers. It doesn't penetrate the fibers like a dye does. So you can have synthetic fabric, which is really nice. If you have some sort of old piece of clothing and you're like, oh man, I wish I could dye this, but it's not 100% cotton, you can do it with the Fabric Creations. So that's one of my favorite things about it. So I just have some scraps of cotton fabric here to show you guys how to do the lampshade. And then of course I have these really fun white bandanas from Michaels, which I think are so fun for tie-dyeing. We are like obsessed with tie-dyeing bandanas here at Plaid because we just love the pattern and the colors. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how to make that bandana using one of these fun bandanas from Michaels. I also have, of course, I have the Fabric Creations paint. I have lots of colors here, and I'll let you guys know what colors I'll be using as I go. And then I have these squirt bottles, which are important for the technique. And you can get these at Michaels. You can get them in like the cake decorating section. I think Wilton makes a bottle like this. And it's just a soft squirt bottle that you can use for frosting and stuff. But today we're gonna be mixing our paint in it and using it to apply our faux dye. And then I've also got a lampshade here because like I said, I'm gonna be showing you guys how to create that lampshade. And then I've got my Mod Podge fabric here because again, I'm gonna show you guys how to Mod Podge the fabric on there. Make sure I'm not missing anything. I've also got my water here just to mix with the paint. But of course you guys just use your sink at home. You don't have to have a fancy bottle. I just didn't want to have to walk away from the camera. And then I've got my rubber bands, which is always important for tie-dye. I've got some gloves just to keep it a little less messy, to keep my colors from mixing on each other. And then I have a handy dandy foil pan that I always use for dyeing a small project like this, just to catch the mess. So after we fold it, we put it in here to dye it, and that way we don't have to worry about cleanup underneath it. It's non-stick. You can pull the paint out, or you can just rinse it out when you're done. You can see there's some paint in here. We use these over and over and over again. These are a definite staple for our crafting. So what else? Am I missing anything? I think that's it.
I know you have a plan for what you're going to make, but some people had questions about the colors, and they want to see the two shirts behind you, especially the long sleeve guy. So everybody's
this is a really fun one. This
crushing on that
the
one.
same technique we're going to do today. So you can remember this technique. We're going to do the same sort of fold for the bandana we're about to do. But yeah, if I had to guess the colors for this one, I think this is Carnation, which is this light pink, and then I want to say we mixed the green. I want to say we did what is this one called? This is a green, oh, shamrock, of course, and we mixed shamrock with white, and that's how we got this pretty minty color. So you can mix the colors too, which is great. You can just pour them in the bottle and shake them up to mix and get new colors. And again, we're actually going to be doing that for the bandana today, so you kind of get an idea of how that will work. Okay, cool. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. For our first fold for the bandana, I'm going to lay my bandana flat on my surface. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find the center, which is super easy for this one because, of course, it's a pattern, so we know exactly where the center is. Sometimes you have to guess, but so I'm going to pick up the center, and we are going to twist it like this. And we're going to, so you can see how it sort of holds its shape. We're going to keep twisting it until we have the whole thing twisted. So if you guys are used to tie-dyeing, if you're big tie-dyers and you've been doing it for years, I'm sure you know this classic swirl sort of fold for tie-dye. It's that big swirl that, you know, you see like the classic tie-dye t-shirt pattern. So that's what we're going to be doing here for this one. So you can see I'm just twisting it all around my hands, trying to keep it kind of neat. We just want to make sure it all stays in that swirl, and that's how we're going to get that cool swirled pattern on our bandana. So you can see it kind of looks like a rose or like a flower. Super simple. You just twist it in the middle and then keep that twist. So I'm going to grab some rubber bands just to hold it together. And for this one, it doesn't need to be super tight. So like when you're doing real dyeing, you need to have the rubber bands really tight because they work as kind of a mask. And wherever the rubber bands are and where the folds are, it needs to be super tight because that's where the dye doesn't go, because usually you submerge it. So for this one, not submerging it, I just need the rubber bands to sort of hold it in its shape. I don't even really need to be that tight. I just don't want it to unravel. So that's all we need the rubber bands for. So I'm going to set that aside. Just picked it up in the middle and swirled it and put some rubber bands. And now I'm going to show you how we are going to create our little faux dye solution. So like I said, I've got my little squirt bottle here. And I've got some that I already pre-mixed. And this color, for the pink, just so you guys know, is Grapefruit. So this one I pre-mixed, it's Grapefruit, and then I'll show you how to mix this sort of denim-y blue color here. So I'm going to grab.
Real quick, Jessie, people want to see you do the swirl again.
Okay.
And I asked if, I'm not in the studio there in that room with you, but if Lindsay has a long sleeve t-shirt, could you show how to do it on a shirt?
Sure. I think there's some folders on that table.
Yeah, or just unroll that again. But people they want to see the swirl technique and the rubber bands again.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, yeah.
So here we we do have a long sleeve shirt. Okay, cool. So here's a long sleeve shirt, just a regular cotton shirt. So I guess some of you guys maybe have this exact thing at home, so I can show you. It's really, it seems like it might get confusing because of the sleeves. You're like, well, where do the sleeves go? But in reality, it's really just the same thing. So on this one, you can either do it at the center, and that's where your spiral will swirl out from, or you could do it lower on the bottom corner, and that's where your spiral will swirl out from. It's kind of up to you. So I'm going to do it in the center, because that's how we did the other one. So I'm going to pinch it in the center, and you want to make sure you're getting the back side of the shirt too, so I can feel that I've got both layers there. I don't want to ignore the back, because otherwise that'll just be flat and won't have any of the pattern. So you pinch it and you twist, and again, it kind of holds its shape. And you twist, and you just keep twisting really carefully, sort of making sure that it's all really neat and it's all going neatly in the same direction. And that's how you get that really clean swirl. And you just keep twisting. And then when you get to the sleeves, you kind of just want to move it around with the rest of the shirt. You can see here, I'm just sort of making it flow. It's just following that swirl is all. Because when it's all swirled together, you'll see the way that we are going to add the paint to it. You'll see how those are going to be multicolored too. So here, again, you just want to put a rubber band on it. You may need a little bit bigger rubber band, but probably not. You just need to wrap it around once to hold it in place. So you just sort of swirl the sleeves with it.
Yeah, and how many rubber bands, people are asking? Is it just kind of like, is there a certain number that you need to get on there?
However many rubber bands you need so that it doesn't fall out of its shape, so that it doesn't unravel. You can see I only put 2. I just sort of put them in a crisscross shape. I did one this way and one that way, and it's not coming apart. So if you feel like maybe your sleeve is falling out or something, just put a couple more rubber bands, but it doesn't matter, just enough so that it's not falling out of that swirl that you just did. Okay? So,
thank you.
Guys, questions? Would you say, Kira? Sorry.
No, thank you. I think everybody said thank you because I think they just wanted to see that twirl again.
Yeah, it's hard to
And how would you do it on a shirt?
Swirl the sleeves.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, glad that I was able to do that for you guys. Okay, so now for, like I said, for the mixing of the paint, so I've got my squirt bottle here. You can see it's kind of soft because you want to be able to squeeze it. So I got my squirt bottle, and we're going to do a little bit of mixing for this color. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys this, this pretty denim blue sort of color, this like light denim-y color. So again, the pink is called Grapefruit, and that's just straight out of the bottle, Grapefruit. And then for this one, I'm going to use, is this just called white? It is just called White. This is our White Fabric Creations. Sealed. Pour it out of here so I don't make a mess. So we've got white here that I'm just pouring into the bottle. You can see a little bit goes a long way, so I've been using these bottles over and over again. That's why the tip is all pink. Okay, so I've got my white in there, and then you just want to put a little dab of the navy. So just watch, I'm gonna do like a tiny drop. Just a little drop in there, because you want mostly white and just a little bit of the navy. And you can always adjust the color as you go. So just start with a little bit, and then you can change it as you go. Okay, so now I'm gonna add the water. So again, this is just regular water. It doesn't need to be distilled or anything like that. You can see can you guys see how much paint is in there? Here, I'm gonna cover the top. It's like a good bit, it's probably about half the bottle of white, and then just a little drop or two of the navy blue. So that's how much paint you put in. And then I'm gonna put, the ratio is about 1 part paint, 2 parts water. So however much paint you have in here, of course, that you might have a different size bottle and stuff, so it's hard for me to tell you, how high it is. But you just wanna make sure you have 1 part paint and 2 parts water. So now I'm gonna carefully pour 2 parts water in there. And again, you can just do it at your sink. It doesn't need to be any sort of special water, just tap water is fine. So I'm going to put my cap back on. I'm gonna shake it up. And then you can kind of see what color it's gonna be. So if you wanted to make it darker or lighter then, that's when you can kind of do that, once you see what the true color is gonna look like. So you can see I've kind of got this nice light blue already. So I wanna make sure I get all that paint shaken up.
So someone asked if you need to really measure it, but it's kind of, can you maybe show them the consistency too?
Yes, I definitely
before
will.
You go.
It's definitely not an exact science. So if you kind of just go by that ratio, you can see if it's a little bit thick, you need to add more water. If it's a little bit thin, you need to add more paint. And like Kira said, I will show you in just a second. I'll show you after I'm done mixing sort of what it looks like coming out of the bottle. You can hear it swoosh. You definitely want to be able to hear that swoosh. It's not thick like paint. It's pretty watery. So here, I'll show you what it looks like coming out of the bottle. You can see it's like super watery. Can you guys see that? So you want it to be, you don't want it to be like super thick and syrupy, because then it's not going to flow and it's not going to penetrate your fabric as well. So that's how you mix it. Again, like I said, it's 1 part paint, 2 parts water, and I've already mixed my pink color, my Grapefruit. So now is the fun part. We get to start dyeing, or faux dyeing. Okay, so I've got my pan here that I'm going to put my bandana in. And I'm gonna put some gloves on just because I'm doing a couple different projects here and I don't want the paint on my hands to sort of contaminate each one. But it is water-based, so if you get it on your hands, if you don't have gloves at home, just while it's wet, just go wash it with soap and water and it'll come right off. Or even a baby wipe. We always keep baby wipes near us when we're painting and crafting because it'll just take the paint right off your hands. Okay, so I've got my little bandana, my swirl bandana in my pan, and I've got my 2 colors mixed. So now for this particular swirl pattern, all we're gonna do is we're gonna do 1/2 one color and the other half the other color. And it's so simple, but when you open it up, since we swirled the fabric, it's going to be a beautiful swirl pattern. So here, I'll show you. I'm gonna do this side with my blue color. And I'm holding it up this way so the paint kind of flows off of it and doesn't flow onto the other side of the bandana. And I'm getting into all the folds. I'm using the tip of my squirt bottle to get into these folds. And you kind of like use your fingers to like rub the paint into the fabric as you go to make sure it's really taking the fabric. You can do on the other side. You definitely want to put more like paint and water mix than you think you do. I do that a lot where I'm like, oh my gosh, I put so much paint in there, and then I open it up and it's so white. And I'm like, I clearly didn't put as much as I thought I did. So you can't really do too much paint. You really want to make sure that you've got the whole area saturated with the paint mixture. So you can see, like I said, I'm getting into the folds. You can kind of peek here and there. You can kind of look between the fabric and see if it's getting in there or not. Make sure it's going between. So when we're done with this, if you guys are used to fabric paint, you may be wondering, do you need to heat set it? And yeah, you do. Make sure you heat set it before you wash it or anything like that. So you can use a hot iron with no steam, a dry iron, or you can toss it in, make sure it's very dry, make sure it's air dry, and then you can toss it in the dryer, and that will also heat set it. Make sure it's dry before you do that though, or else you're gonna get paint in your dryer. But yeah, so you heat set it, and then it's completely machine washable. It won't fade. It's really soft. It feels like just like fabric. It doesn't feel like it has paint on it at all. It's really, really, really great. Okay, so like I said, I want to go a little overboard to make sure that I've got as much paint in there as I want to get a nice colorful swirl. So now I'm going to grab some baby wipes and just wipe off my hands before I start on the paint.
Yep. And I'm just trying to answer some questions. People are asking, can they use another paint to do this? And we really recommend the Fabric Creations because it's super soft and it's machine washable. It was, you know, created for fabric. So would recommend that. If you use another paint without using a fabric medium, it could be crunchy. And I'm not sure how it would react with washing it. So that's what's so great about this. And it really, truly is soft.
Yeah, so soft. Like these bandanas like couldn't be softer.
Yep. And then I'm trying to think, what are the other questions here? So does it fade? It really doesn't fade. I actually wore one of the samples home the other night from the office because we were filming, and the wash, and it came out, it looked just the same as when I had worn it the day before. So it truly doesn't fade because you're going to heat set it with a dry iron or in the dry heat in the dryer. And then once you wash it, it's not going to fade and wash off. It really is permanent. Yeah,
it is. It's absolutely permanent. So if you're wearing nice clothes and you're doing this, you might want to put an apron on or something because it will stay on your clothes. It will not stay on your skin. It's totally washable, but on your clothes, it will stay.
True. Doing the shibori a couple weeks ago, I splattered my neck actually, and Jesse told me to be careful and not do that. And I went home with blue paint on my neck, but it totally washed right off.
It probably didn't wipe off your shirt though. I'm pretty sure I just got white all over my shirt, and I think I got my hair too. So it'll wash out of my hair, but it won't wash off my shirt. But that's okay because this is my crafting shirt.
Yep.
Okay. So we've taken our light blue mixture and we just did it on half. You can see we just use the rubber band sort of as our marker. Here, I'll hold it up higher. We use the rubber band as our marker so we could see exactly halfway. And now we're gonna do the exact same thing with the pink on the other side. So again, I pre-mixed this. This is the same ratio. 1 part paint, 2 parts water. You can see it's just as liquidy. And this is probably one of my favorite Fabric Creations colors, this Grapefruit. It's like such a pretty melony, corally color. And it's so bright, I love it. So again, I'm using the tip of the bottle and I'm trying to get into these folds. I'm being careful not to go onto the blue side. I'm going to massage it in as I go. Just make sure that the whole thing is saturated. You don't want a lot of white showing. You shouldn't see any white on the outside. There may be a little bit of white in between, but of course that's just sort of, that's why we fold it, so that we can have some white to show the pattern. But I don't want a ton of white, I want mostly color. Okay. Then I'm just massaging it. I'm sort of peek between the layers and make sure that we've got lots of pink in there.
And then someone's asking, you're not actually adding white to get the white band. The bandana was white. So that's because when you twirl it and in the folds where the dye doesn't get, that's
Right.
what's going to create the white, not the rubber bands.
Yep, I'm leaving a little bit of white there. And you can see in this finished bandana how there's white between the colors. That's what that white is. There's some that are the folds that are going to be in the middle, but this white between the blue and between the pink is that white stripe there in the middle. When you start to tie-dye a lot, it's a little easier to wrap your head around how the folds work and how the results will turn out. In the beginning, you're kind of like, I'm folding this all crazy and it's gonna look like that. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But the more you do it, the more practice you have, the more it becomes clear to you what it'll look like after you unfold it. Okay, so I've got it pretty saturated. I'm gonna go ahead and take my gloves off. And you can either carefully take the rubber bands off, but I don't really want to touch it too much because I don't want to get the blue and the pink and vice versa. So I usually just snip the rubber bands off and it just makes it a little bit cleaner. I don't have to worry about touching the fabric too much after I've finished putting the paint on. So here we go. I'll show you the big reveal. So you can see
Awesome.
We have that nice big swirl there, which is so fun. So again, I'm gonna let this hang dry and then I'm probably just gonna toss it in my dryer as soon as it's completely air dry. But you saw how simple that was. All we did was twist it and put a little bit of paint on it. And we've got this awesome tie-dye bandana now that you can wear in your hair. You can wear it, you know, to wherever you're going to sort of, like we always put it as hair ties. Like we can use like kind of like a scrunchie here. So it's a great accessory for summer and it's super easy to do.
Great for your pets too, right? You could dress up your dog.
Yeah, it's a cute collar, cute bandana for your dog. I love that.
Yep.
So this is one of our favorites.
And so you would just heat set that. And I was going to mention, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You don't need to rinse it out. Like a lot of times with dyes and things, you need to rinse and wash it. This one, you just put the paint on, reveal it, and let it dry, which is so great. It is less messy.
And there's no waiting too. Usually with tie-dye, you have to wait overnight. You have to let it absorb and let it really sink in and penetrate it. And this one, you can see it's instant gratification. You put the paint on, you snip it off, and it's done. The pattern, you can see the pattern right away, which I love.
And I know you're a professional, Jessie, but really, like, that's the only mess you have in that little pan, right? Because
this is it.
Tie-dye is so messy, and you waste a ton.
Exactly. There's hardly any that got wasted. And you can hang on to these too. If you put a ton of paint in there, like if you put the full bottle and mix it with water, just make sure you put the cap back on it. They usually come with a little cap. And this will last you for a while. As long as it's airtight, this will last you, you know, almost as long as your paint would last you, really. Maybe a little bit less since you watered it down because that water is going to evaporate out of the paint. But you may just need to put a little more water in there, and you can keep using this color over and over. So you can keep those bottles in your craft room for next time you're tie-dyeing. Okay. So now that we've done our bandana, go ahead, Kira.
How long are they supposed to dry it? I know it says it on the bottle, and I do not have a bottle here.
Let me double check. It says let it dry, air dry for 24 hours.
Okay, but when you heat set it, I just put it like through a normal cycle.
Oh,
like if I pop it in my dryer.
Yeah, as long as it gets hot. Because if you think about it, all you need to do is just go over it with an iron, and as long as that hot heat touches it, it's heat set. So you don't have to put it in your dryer for very long at all. Just let it get really hot. So if you just 10, 15 minutes even, pull it back out. And if it's, you know, really warm to the touch, then it should be good to go.
Perfect.
Yeah, not very long at all. All right. So now I'm going to show you how I made this cool tie-dye lamp, which is great. That's another thing I love about this is that it's great for home decor too. It's great for like summer fashion, for t-shirts, bandanas. We've made dresses and sweatshirts here, but also you can just do scraps of fabric and use them for home decor like this lamp here. So I'll show you how I did this one. So I started with just a piece of regular white fabric. This is cotton, but it doesn't have to, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't have to be pure cotton. Like I said, it's always better, but it doesn't have to be. So for this fold, for this sort of like blocky stripe fold we have here, I'm gonna go this way actually. Oops, sorry guys. I've got a long piece of fabric here, of course, as I'm gonna put it around my lampshade. So you're gonna start here at the bottom. Make sure you guys can see it. And we're gonna go about 3 or 4 inches. We're gonna fold it. So I'm not measuring or anything, I'm just sort of eyeballing it. We're going about 3 or 4 inches. And then we're gonna do an accordion fold. So we've done this before on these classes with Michael's community classrooms. So I'm going to flip it under this way now. We're gonna go back and forth, back and forth. We're not just rolling it up in sort of a fold, we're going back and forth, back and forth. So an accordion fold, so you can see, I'll show you how I did it on the back side now. I'm gonna go this way, flip it over, and go this way, flip it over, and go this way. And then at the end, especially since we're gonna be cutting this fabric up, I'm not really that concerned about it, so just make sure it gets folded. So that is an accordion fold. If you guys are, if you've done shibori before, if you do lots of fabric dyeing, you might be used to that. Each fold, like I said, should be 3 or 4 inches for this pattern. It's totally up to you if you want to make the folds narrower or wider. That's how big your stripes are going to be. So your stripes on here is going to be how big your fold is. So just keep that in mind. How wide these are is how big the fold is. So let me do it one more time just in case you guys missed that. So again, this is just an accordion fold. So I'm going to fold it about 3 or 4 inches. And then I'm going to fold it underneath the same amount. And then fold it back on top. And again, so it's kind of going like this. And then underneath again, and then on top. So it just looks like an accordion, like a fan almost. You're folding it like you would, if you were folding a piece of paper into a fan, this is exactly how you would do it. And this, it's a really fun technique. This is actually the same one we did here. We just put less paint on. It kind of probably looks really different, but these two here next to me, the lampshade and the t-shirts, it's the reverse for me, are the same fold. So you just get, that's how you get those stripes. So we've got our accordion fold. Now I'm going to grab some rubber bands and I'm going to bundle my little fold here. I'm going to fold my rubber band probably twice. I'm going to double it up. And so what we're doing now is we're picking how far apart our stripes are. So we've got one there, and then the next rubber band is going to be our next sort of in-between stripes. So here, let me show you a little more. I'm not explaining that well. So you see here, the white is where the rubber bands are. So that's marking where we're gonna have our white on our fabric. So wherever the rubber bands are here are these white stripes in our fabric. And then we're going to be dyeing these with our paint. So again, I'm just gonna double up and I'm gonna keep my spacing pretty even on this. So again, I'm probably going 3 or 4 inches apart on this side too. So about 3 inches between rubber bands. I'll do another one here. You can see they're not like super tight, but and then last one here, we're just keeping it. And again, this one's not like a t-shirt or something, so we're gonna be cutting it up so we can kind of like pick our favorite part and put it on our lampshade. So I'm not that concerned about the edges, but I do wanna make sure I have a good bit of it that's really even. So again, I've got about 3 inches, 3 or 4 inches between each of my rubber bands.
So somebody had a question, can you put the paint right on the lampshade? And to get this look, Jesse, you really need to do your fold, but this paint would work awesome on a lampshade if you just want to paint or stencil or freehand. Totally. Absolutely.
So if you just have like you can see this is like a little bit beat up. We just have this old lampshade just sort of bopping around the studio. So we're going to sort of give it a makeover. If you've got a lampshade like this at home, You can absolutely take fabric creations, like Kira said, brush it on. You can paint a pattern on it. You can monogram it. You can, you know, put your name on it, whatever you want to do. But if you want to get this sort of like splotchy, fun tie-dye design, then you're going to have to do the folding. Okay, so I'm going to grab my pan. And you can see, I'm going to use the same pan, but I'm going to put some wax paper because I don't want to get that pink paint, of course, to get onto my black and white fabric here. But you can always just rinse it out at home or get a new pan or whatever you got. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to grab my gloves again.
And if you're doing something that's just decorative and you're not going to need to wash it, you don't need to heat set it. So if you are doing a lampshade or say there's a pillow you're not going to wash, like it's just a pillow, it's not like a removable pillowcase, you can just paint it and let it dry and use it. There's no need to heat set it if you're not going to wash it. And somebody had a question about washing it before you wear it. I like to heat set it and then wash it and dry it because it just makes it even more soft. The more you wash it, the softer it gets, but it really is soft when it's done.
Yeah, like these are super soft here. We haven't washed any of these yet. These are just ones that we did here in the studio. And it's like, it feels just like the cotton. It really is not stiff at all. But like Kira said, it gets even softer once you do wash it. So that is one of the benefits for sure. Okay, so I've got my pan here. I've got my rolled up, my folded piece of fabric with my rubber bands on it. And I'm going to be using black. So I pre-mixed this one, but just as a reminder, it was 1 part paint and 2 parts water. And you can hear it swoosh. It's pretty watery. And here I'll show you again what the consistency should be. You should get some drops there, pretty liquid. I'm already making a mess, but it's just how it goes. So now I'm going to put my paint between each of the rubber bands. So just like we said, we want to get solid coverage between the rubber bands, but under the rubber band and around the rubber band, we're going to leave that white because that's going to create our stripes. So here, I'll show you. I'm going to start putting my black. And I want to get it nice and saturated because I want a nice, dark, dramatic end result. And again, you can use your hands to sort of massage it in there. And you can sort of see easier this time whether you're getting into the folds or not because it's a little bit looser. So I want to make sure I get plenty of black into all those folds. And then I'm just squirting it right on there and then massaging it, just making sure it gets into all those layers with my fingers. And again, you don't have to have gloves for this. I'm just doing it to sort of, since I'm doing a bunch of projects in a row, just to sort of keep my hands a little bit neater. But you can just wash your hands with soap and water after you do this. I think that's good for that fold. So I'm just gonna grab a baby wipe. Like I said, this is sort of like a crafting hack. We always keep baby wipes around the studio here because it's just such a quick cleanup, especially on your fingers whenever we're painting here at Plaid. We always keep baby wipes on hand because it is so fast and so easy to clean everything up. And again, I'm not worried about this getting on my hands. I just don't want to sort of like contaminate the white areas. I want to make sure I am controlling where the paint goes on my fabric, so I don't want to get any black on there by accident. That's why I'm doing that. So now I'm going to go to my next section. Again, I'm going between the rubber bands. And then I'm massaging it in. I'm kind of getting off camera. Massage it in. Are people at home dyeing along with us, Kira?
Yeah, I can see we've got some kids dyeing. A lot of people watching. I see some rubber gloves there on someone. Yeah, a lot of people watching. I think this is one of those things like you want to see it and then kind of figure out what you want to make.
Yeah, totally. Get inspired and then plan your project.
Yeah, but people are loving it. Great comments.
Awesome.
I think the fact that you could tie-dye with this, but you could also just use it as normal fabric paint makes it so great that you can stencil and draw and paint with it. It doesn't just have to be the tie-dye, but the tie-dye makes it so much fun right now.
Agreed. Yeah, I totally agree.
And that you can change it. You know, you can paint with it just out of the bottle because it is really thick. But then when you add that water, you there's so many different things you can do with it in the folds.
Agreed. I love this so much. And a little bit goes along too, which is the great part because you are sort of watering it down, you are diluting it. You just need a little bit of paint, and you have these bottles. If you're just tie-dyeing, you have these bottles for so long because you hardly have to use any of the paint to do the technique.
Yeah. We've got Sammy. She's, I don't want to say little girl, but she is tweenish. I can see her dyeing. She's got the camera set up. I can see her doing her.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. So again, I'm just getting between each of the rubber bands. I'm making sure it gets into all the folds. Now I'm doing the ends too.
Again, just the no mess thing, right? Like, yeah. I know the kids entered or you want to try it, and it's just like such a process. Like, I love that this is just so easy. Seriously. And you don't waste a bunch.
Right. Anytime you're doing paint, it can get messy, you can see. But it's so much easier to control the mess this way. It's all caught right here in your little pan, and there's way less paint to go, or dye to go everywhere. So I really love it. Okay. So now that I've got it all, I'm going to sort of lay it across my pan here. Now that I've got it all black, and you can see it looks like it's completely saturated in black now, so you're maybe expecting it to be perfectly solid black stripes. But there is going to be fabric in there that you didn't touch. Even if you think you got all of it, trust me, there's still going to be fabric in there that you didn't get. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snip off my rubber bands. Okay, so now for the reveal. See?
I love that.
So there's that black stripes, just like we have in our lampshade back here. Isn't that so fun? And you can see, like I said, you thought it was gonna be solid black stripes, but there is still a lot of like white blotches in between, which is the really fun part of tie-dye. You don't know what it's gonna look like, and it's really that natural sort of organic pattern, which I love. So I'm gonna put this down here and I'm gonna let it dry. But I do have a piece from when I did this like sort of blackish dark gray one. I have a piece left over from that, so I can show you how I did the Mod Podge.
And we have all been fighting over this lamp here. Like, we could just go make it ourselves, but we have been fighting over this one lamp here in the office for like weeks. It's like been going to everyone's desk.
It's been at our friend Sherry's desk, but Kira keeps trying to call dibs on it. So we'll see who ends up with it. We'll see. Kira already called dibs on this small one that I'm about to make. She's like, can I at least have that one? I'm trying to make sure I don't get any of this black on my fabric. Okay. All right, so I've got my strip here. You can see this is just a scrap that I had left over from when I made this original lamp. So say if I had a bigger piece, or, you know, this is kind of tiny, but if I had a bigger piece, you just want to lay your lampshade on it and sort of roll it, and just make sure that you've got enough fabric to cover it. So you can see it's covering all the edges. This is big enough to cover my lampshade, and I'm still going to have some scrap left over for another project. So you just want to make sure if your lampshade is big or small, you want to make sure, of course, you should probably do it before you start dyeing to make sure you dye enough fabric. But you do want to make sure that your piece is, I already did that beforehand, I forgot to tell y'all. You do want to make sure that your piece is big enough to cover the lampshade. So we know that it is. So I'm going to roll it up again, and then I'm going to just snip off the excess just to make it a little bit easier to work with. And this is way easier if you have like a drum lampshade that's not, doesn't taper at all to the top. It'll be easier, but it's not hard to do it with one that does taper. This one does taper ever so slightly, and it's not tricky.
Someone said that would make a good scarf. I love that idea.
Oh yeah, that's really cute. So again, I'm just cutting off the excess. I'm not like measuring it super well or anything, just so I don't have that sort of in my way. Okay. So now that I've got my piece that fits around my lampshade, and I've got my little lampshade here, I'm going to grab my Mod Podge fabric. So this is another great product that you can use with your Fabric Creations fabric ink, because you can use it on fabric and you can wash it, which is really great. So I want to say for this one, it's not machine washable. Let me double check. But you can wash it. Yeah, it's machine washable in cold water. It is. I'm wrong. So it's machine washable in cold water, which is great. You can cut out like appliques of fabric, and you can just Mod Podge them right onto t-shirts. And then once they're dry, you can wash them in the washer, which I think is so great. It's really fun. It's really great for like no-sew projects. You can do like hems and stuff have even done. Not for pants really, but for like decorative purposes. I just absolutely love this fabric Mod Podge. It's great for fabric to fabric projects, just like this one. So I've got my lampshade here. I've just got a paper plate here and just a big soft brush. Any sort of brush will do for this. Will work for Mod Podging. It's nice and clean. Does this even open? Of course it's not. I'm going to open my Mod Podge. And I'm just going to pour a little bit out onto my plate. The fabric Mod Podge is like super thick, which is great because you can really control where it goes. Can you see how thick that is? But I love that it's that thick. So I'm just going to scoop some out onto my plate. And then I'm going to start applying the Mod Podge to my lampshade. So I'm just going to paint it with my fabric Mod Podge. It's a nice thick glue. And it's going to go on so beautifully. It's not going to wrinkle at all. There's going to be no bumps. It's just going to perfectly fuse those pieces of fabric together. It's like such an easy way to do fabric projects if you're not really a big sewer. So I'm going to make sure that I've got my fabric where I want it. So I've got my glue and I'm just going to press it down onto my fabric. I'm just going to make sure that I've got it in the right spot to roll it around. Yep. So I've just got it on there, and I'm going to press down where I just put that glue, that Mod Podge. So I'm going to keep going all the way around. So you can see those are really already kind of stuck together because I put that Mod Podge there. And I'm going to continue the fabric Mod Podge all the way around. And like I said, this is really great for like t-shirts and stuff, even like shoes and stuff I've done before using the fabric Mod Podge. Because you can do like really beautiful appliques, you can personalize things and monogram things, and you don't have to sew or embroider. You can just glue the fabric right onto the fabric. I love it.
And can you use a foam brush or a bristle brush, Jessie?
Yeah, totally.
Either one would work.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like a bristle brush, but you can totally use a foam brush if you've got that. And we're just going to do this all the way around our lampshade. I'm not sure we'll do the whole thing because y'all might get bored of it, but I'll just do a little bit more to show you how we just wrap it around. And of course you can get all of this at Michael's, so you can do an online order and pick up your fabric Mod Podge and all of your Fabric Creations paints and even some fabric from Michael's, so you can order it all online together.
You could even use the bandanas to, I know fabric's kind of hard to get right now, so you could even use those bandanas to cover a lampshade or,
you know what I was doing here?
Anything.
I had trouble finding fabric last week, so I just got a bed sheet. So you can just get like a white bed sheet, and you can find those everywhere right now. So that works perfectly fine. Or like even like a white shower curtain. You can order that online too, which will work just as well.
Yep, that's a great idea.
So you can see here, we're just going to wrap this all the way around. You can see it's perfectly flush. There's no bumps. It's nice and flat, and it's nice and flush to the lampshade. And you would just go all the way around, and then you would cut off the excess, right? So then for the edges, you can either cut off the excess, or you can put some of your Mod Podge right on the inside here, and you can fold them in for a nice clean edge. So you can just put your little Mod Podge all the way around the inside edge and just fold it in. You can see how quick this is. I'm kind of rushing it, and I'm not going to finish it just so you guys don't have to watch me do the whole thing. But you would just put your Mod Podge and fold the edge in for a nice, you can see how clean that edge would be, a nice clean edge. And we could do the same thing on the top. So yeah, that's how you do this lampshade. Here, I'll show you the final one that I did over here. So you can see on the inside, all I did is I just folded it in, and I glued the Mod Podge the edge right on the inside of the lamp. And then I didn't even like fold it or anything here. You can just see the Mod Podge sort of keeps the fabric from fraying. It's like a fray sealer too. So I just put Mod Podge on the seam here, and it's not going to fray or anything. So yeah, super, super easy.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that is a designer lampshade that we're all fighting over.
How are we doing on time, Kira?
I think we're good, just answering a lot of questions. Somebody actually has tried the product and said that they dried it in their dryer. It was no mess. Paint didn't get everywhere. So I love when people have actually used it and it's not just us saying like, our product's great. It really works. So that was good. People were asking, can you dye on any color of fabric? Does it have to be white?
Nope, it doesn't.
Dye on any fabric?
Yeah, we've just been doing it on white just because you want to see like the exact color that comes out. But we actually found just in we have a services room here with all kinds of stuff to craft on, of course, at Plaid for inspiration. Yeah. We found some like mint sweatshirts and we were just saying, let's tie-dye them. Yeah. So you can put on any color.
I don't know. Do we have a couple minutes if you want to do the shirt that you twirled? Do you have dye?
Do you have time? I'd love to dye the shirt.
Or people are actually asking how you did the striped shirt behind you.
Okay, yeah. So can you grab me another shirt, Lindsay? Thank you. I've got Lindsay.
I love it. We just have a plethora of white shirts behind you also.
I know. We just have stuff everywhere here at Plaid, as you can imagine. We've got no lack of inspiration, that's for sure. Thanks, Lindsay. So the way I did that one is it's the exact same as the lampshade, actually. Like I said before, you might be thinking like, well, it doesn't look like the lampshade. So you take the shirt and you're going to fold it in the accordion fold, just like that one. And you could include the sleeves in it, or you can include them in the fold or not. So if I include it in there, I'm going to have these green and orange stripes on my sleeves too, or I don't have to. You can just sort of flip those up and those will stay white. It's totally up to you. But I'm going to include mine just because it's kind of fun, and I might actually do this. It sounds really cute. So I'm going to just start folding it. You can see I just flop the sleeve over just the same way we would do it if there was no opening there, if it was just part of the fabric. And then I'm going to accordion fold it behind it. Again, I'm just going to fold it like a fan. I'm going to fold it again, and then again, and then I'm going to use this sleeve as sort of the last fold of the fabric. And what you do here is you can see we've got two stripes here. Is we use our rubber bands to block off those stripes. So we can have one stripe here that starts towards the bottom. And then we'll make that stripe maybe 4 or 5 inches. You can make it as thick or as thin as you want. So however these rubber bands right now are spaced is how thick your stripe is going to be. So you can make it all the way far up if you want to, but it's totally up to you. And then I'm going to make another stripe a little ways above that. So I'm going to use my rubber bands as sort of my spacer so I know when I'm dyeing. So we'll make that that's going to be the space between our stripes. And then so this is one stripe, and then we're going to have one stripe here, which I'm going to rubber band now. And you could put stripes up the whole shirt. It's totally up to you. You could just do one big stripe if you wanted to. Okay, so here's going to be a stripe, and here's going to be a stripe. So should we dye this one, you think, Kira, so people can see?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So.
Yeah, and everybody definitely wants to see, and they want you to hold up also the spiral shirt again up close. They want to see that one again.
Okay, cool. Let's dye this one, and then
everyone's loving that. Yep.
Okay, cool.
And somebody was asking how opaque the paints are. So they're really yeah, they're really opaque. They're not transparent. So adding the water, dilutes them, but out of the bottle, they're very opaque.
Right. So if you were to add like a ton of water, like if you were going to put like a lot of water and then just splash a little paint in there, you could get a really light, like pastel-y color if you want it to be, or like almost like a watercolor look. But it's kind of hard to dilute these. They're super highly pigmented, and so you could see how much we diluted these paints here and how bright they still came out of the bottle. So, all right. So since I got these two colors mixed, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use, I think I got enough of the blue left, my pink and my blue. So here, we'll do the blue on top. Again, I'm just doing, this is my first stripe.
And again, you just made that blue with navy and white, which is great also.
Yep, I did mostly white, and then I just did a couple drops of navy to get this nice light blue color. But we have a ton of colors in the Fabric Creations line. I just was sort of playing around today, so I thought I'd mix just to show you that you can mix. We've got lots and lots of colors to choose from. Yeah, they mix really well, though. Just like our acrylic paints mix, these mix just beautifully. So you want to make sure this is a bigger piece of fabric. It's a little bit thicker because it's a t-shirt. It's like a really soft cotton, so I want to make sure I get into all those folds because that's how I'm going to get a really solid line of color. The less you get into the folds, the more white areas there's going to be. Another tip too, I don't think I said this yet, is when you do dry them, it's usually better, especially if you added a lot of water to your paint, if you don't hang it to dry. I find that it's better if you lay it flat because it can run sometimes. So if this probably wouldn't because I have this pretty paint heavy, but if you were doing like sort of that watercolor technique and you put a lot of water into it, you probably don't want to hang dry because it might just start to run a little bit in your fabric. And maybe you're looking for that sort of look, and that could actually be really pretty, but just keep that in mind. It's better if you just grab like a big piece of paper or like a tarp or something and just lay it flat. Okay, so now I'm gonna do my pink stripe. And again, this is Grapefruit. Try to keep it out of the blue the best I can. I just love this color. I think this is probably my favorite Fabric Creations color.
Everybody's loving it. So you're doing a great job, Jessie. Lots of information. You're very organized, a great teacher. So.
Well, thanks, guys. That's so nice of you to say. Sometimes I don't feel that organized. I actually splattered some paint in my face earlier, but I think that I played it off pretty well. Lindsay was sitting here laughing at me, but I don't think that you can see it on camera, so that's good.
You just got to keep going.
Exactly. Just move along. It's not like it doesn't happen in my regular crafting, so it's like, why let it stop me? Okay, so this one's really quick. You could definitely take more time and probably make it a little bit neater than I'm doing now. I just really want to show you what this will look like when we unfold it. I'm not being very careful like I probably should be.
This is a great question, and we didn't cover this. I know we talked about it when we did shibori. Do you need to wet the shirt or the fabric before you apply the dye?
I actually was thinking that when I was talking about how you can, how you don't want to hang it up to dry it, but I didn't want to confuse people. So you totally can wet it first. And I actually want to say that this one was wet before we did it. And that's how we have that sort of like blendy, like really soft sort of lines, if that makes sense. Like for our lampshade, for the lampshade that we made here, we have really crisp lines. Like for this guy here, you can see like how crisp these lines are. And then these are a little bit softer. That's because this one was wet before we dyed it. So we wet it in the sink and then we wrung it out as much as we can. You don't want it to be sopping wet. And then we just did this whole thing and that created much softer lines. So that's a really good question. I kind of like the crisp lines, so I usually don't wet it first, but one of our content creators, Emma, made that one, and she always wets hers first because she really likes that soft look. Okay. But again, if you're going to do that, that's when you really don't want to hang it to dry. So if you wet it first and then dye it, you've got lots of water in your fabric, and it really wants to blend every which way, so you really want to lay that flat to dry because that's when it'll really start sort of like bleeding through the fabric. And it might sort of, especially if you have like a really intense swirl or something, it might mess up your design. You might come back the next day and it's all just blurred into each other, which that would stink. Okay, so now I'm going to snip my rubber bands off. Okay, so the big reveal. Oh, you can see I have a lot of white showing, and that's because I didn't get into all the folds. But you can see, here, I'll move it next to it, the difference between those two. That's the exact same technique, but Emma clearly got into every single fold, so she has really like big blocky stripes, and I did mine so fast and I rushed it, but I kind of like it. It's like a little bit looser, and it kind of looks more tie-dye-ish to me. So yeah, that's how you do that technique. You can see how the arms are also striped. They match the shirt because we included those in our fold. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for doing that. Kind of on demand. We were like, hey, do another shirt while we're at it. That was good. We got to show more techniques.
Why not?
Yep. So everyone's doing it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm going to pick a winner. Again, you can watch this video. Jessie has another tie-dye video. We have 2 shibori classes using the Fabric Creations, all available on michaels.com on the community classroom page, which is so great. You can watch all the videos. Ours are all on there. All of Jessie's Paint Night Lives are on there, so you can always go back and watch. And then we have a Mod Podge Ultra class here in a couple hours too. So I think there's still time to sign up for that. So that is a brand new spray-on formula, a Mod Podge. So I'm just gonna plug that real quick because Jessie and I will be back in a couple hours. We got two days today on a Friday. I know. So I'm gonna have a coffee in between. I just gotta do one thing on here.
Thanks so much, like Kira said. Thanks so much for joining, guys. We love these classes. And we love getting to spend our afternoons with you guys crafting and telling you about our products and telling you about new trends and techniques. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, and I am going to pick a winner. I just want to do one thing on here. Okay, are you guys ready?
Drum roll.
I know, guys, I hate it. All right, let me grab my phone. I know.
This is Kira's least favorite part of the whole class.
I know, it looks really shady, but I'm doing it on my phone. I gotta pull everything up here. Gwen Allen.
Woo! Congratulations, Gwen.
Yeah. Gwen, I know she was on here and then she got back off. I don't know if she's on here. But Gwen, if you are on, yay, she is good. So Gwen, go ahead and message us on our Facebook page, on Plaid Crafts Facebook page, and send us a message and let us know that you won. And then we will go ahead and make sure we get the product out to you. So thank you guys, everybody, for joining us. Congratulations, Gwen, and everybody. We will see you. Hopefully you can join us this afternoon. Again, we'll be back. We've got paint night and some other classes next week again. So thank you, everybody. Happy tie-dyeing. Happy Friday.
Bye, guys.
Bye.